How's it going, everyone? It is Friday, November 1st, 2024. First video of the new month. We're going to take a look at our pick from the last video, which was Carvana as a day trade long. So, when the video came out, I talked about the setup that I liked on Carvana. Oh, looks like SPY is making a move lower here. I'm going to get to that in a second. So Carvana had this big gap up from earnings, and the market was selling off that day. So the stock over here pulled back. It held some of the gains, and we got this nice little benign bearish cycle. This bullish cycle produced. We got this bearish cycle that diverged, and so took the trade right around here. And you can see that this next bullish cycle didn't really produce, so I ended up scratching the trade. So that was a scratch, and that was really the key. The key was that this bullish cycle didn't produce, and it saved us from a really, really big loser. We didn't have to bag hold here, and we got out of the trade when it didn't really produce, especially on a day where the market had a big kind of bearish trend day, and you can see over here, kind of around 2 o'clock-ish, lost its relative strength, and it has been kind of selling off ever since. So still looks good, I would say, on the D1. I would wait for this to flip. So I'm going to set an alert over here on an M30 buy signal. And if that flips, then I feel pretty good about Carvana. So that was a break even. The other trade that we were in was AFRM. So we took this on the breakout here, pretty much right around the close. You can see how the stock, we got on a pullback, so we didn't chase the high of the day. Nice little breakout here on okay volume on that day. Here's the volume. Here's the R-vol. So yeah, R-vol of 9%. Yeah, 109% above average. You can see SPY on that day. That'll be when we get the breakout over here. I think this was the 30th. So SPY on the 30th, pretty low R-vol kind of day. You see, I've noticed I put the R-vol up to kind of help compare some of these spikes in volume coming in over here. So brought up over here, got on this pullback on this lower end of the channel. Now, this isn't the strongest channel setup. You can see that this stock is, kind of in this loose bull channel. If I were to draw it kind of like that. So it's in this loose bullish channel. We're getting at the bottom of the channel. We have room to somewhere on the top end of the channel, but that's really only conducive if we get a market push. If this market is going lower, we may have to try to scratch out of the stock on a move up. So that's going to be important, but we're leaning on this $42 level as our stop, which is the 50 SMA. It is also this upward sloping trend line, and it's the AVWAP-E from the prior earnings. We have earnings next week, so watching, that's kind of our time stop on the trade. And the stock does tend to rally into earnings, so we have a little bit of a bid. So if I think about the probabilities here, I think there's maybe like a 20% chance that this stock completely tanks, and we have to take the loss because of that market bias. I'm kind of leaning towards there's a 50% chance I can scratch, and there's maybe like another 25% chance that I can hit my original target, which is somewhere over here, around $50. But I'm going to have to start to lower that profit target as we go up. So it's really going to depend on the market next week. Now, I don't think the market's going to totally sell off. We are pulling back here. Rejected that. We're kind of between AVWAP-Q and the 50 SMA, so we're just kind of chopping around. So the market buy is going to be important. I don't think it's going to be overly bearish. I'm going to get to that in a second, and then we'll kind of go back to our game plan for today. So on this market game plan, one thing I want to bring up here is I have kind of revamped my market outlook. So I just wanted to show that on the screen. So let's take a look at this new template and make something a little bit more concise. The one I had, I did feel when I was writing it and updating it, it was just a little bit too cumbersome. It was a little bit too wordy. And I wasn't crazy about the organization. So I kind of revamped it and kind of distilled it down into the most important elements. So you can see the outlook at each time frame. You can see the bias that's there, and here's the rationale for that bias. So it's very, very clear. And at the very end, I put the conclusion. So over here, again, fundamentally, technically, nothing has really changed too much. I've added end of year seasonality. That's you can argue that's a technical, it's sort of a technical pattern over here. Now a short-term technical is mildly bearish because we've broken that sluggish low volume moves to all-time high. We had market broke compression to the downside after making a new all-time high. So if you look at this move here, we broke through there, and we are below the A VWAP Q, right? New D1 sell signal, and below our A VWAP Q. So it's mildly bearish right now, and that's just our current bias, right? So the second thing we have to do is, now that we have our current bias, is the scenario planning. So what could change our bias? So the scenarios here is, first is keep everything the same, right? So fundamentally and technically, I said, look, on a longer term basis, I think there's an 80% chance, this likelihood, that we should maintain this bullish outlook, that things keep going as they're going. We have these dips, enter these dips, and then we sell into relative strength, or sell kind of, on the breakouts, add a little bit on the breakouts, and take gains when the move starts to stall. So, I talk about kind of the different outlooks here. We can get a deep drop, right? What would change it? And then on the short term, I talk about what we can change. So on the short term, we're saying, look, a couple of things. So we could hold this 50 SMA, right, which is mildly bullish, and then how we bounce is going to determine how bullish we are. So if it's a slow move that takes a long time, I'm going to be less bullish, and that could change my longer term outlook. If it's a strong move and we have to recapture AVWAP-Q ideally tomorrow or the day after, and we kind of make this all-time high in the next, 3 or 4 days, that's going to get me more bullish. So I'm looking for, again, some sort of pullback entry here that I can take, and we can that I can take, and that we can start to enter in on some positions. Right, and then the final part over here, I talk about the day trading. So nothing too much, but I say, look, my current short-term market bias is mildly bearish. Yesterday, we had this gap and go bear trendy that hit the 50 SMA and then stalled. Overnight, what happened? Well, we had a small gap up from the earnings reaction. In the first hour, we had a gap and go bull trend day that tested the gap from yesterday. And there's a couple scenarios here. So we could break through that gap in the morning, right? We could break through the gap. We could go over here, break the gap. We could have a bearish reversal and make a new low of the day, or we can have sort of an LPTA sluggish day and not really do much over here. So if we take a look at this M5 chart, and let's go over here. So we're kind of having this reversal day. We did poke down a little bit. We didn't make a new low of the day, but we had the strong move here. And then you can see that we're having this very chunky, low volume, bearish channel on the way down. So what does this mean? So intraday, there's not a ton. There's some stocks you trade on the long side. There's some decent ones on the short side. There's some decent picks on the long side today. Lulu was a nice pick that we could have traded. So that's the first one. Second thing over here is on maybe a longer term time frame. What I'd like to see is we got this pretty tall bounce. All right, so that's fine. We got this big drop. All right, this could be a little climax. Tested at 50 finally. Get a move up over here. Now I want to see a lower high, and then we actually break above this level over here. So if we can get back into the gap that's going to be a pretty key level, and that would kind of incline me to really have me inclined to take some swing longs. So that is kind of what I'm looking at to get in some swing longs. Outside of that, I'm keeping it pretty light. So for a firm here, if we get that move next week early, then I can ride a firm out. If we kind of don't get that move and we start to pitter patter out, I'm going to look to scratch AFRM or take some small profits as it moves into earnings. I should still have a pretty good chance to do that, considering I got on at a good price and I got on at a pullback. So if we look at the chart for AFRM, I'm going to use a 15-minute chart here. All right, so here is our chart. You can see that we got this really strong move. Great volume on this move up higher. We got it on a little pullback over here. We thought it was a pullback. Market sold off. Big gap down, finding some support. Today it tested again. It's just been kind of compressing, so it's been pretty flat for most of the move. We did shed some of those gains, so didn't love that over here. We did shed some of those gains, but I think we have a good chance to at least get close to testing this high. And if my entry point's somewhere over here, so I have a pretty strong chance of being able to break even on this pullback. And I think I have a decent chance of even taking a small profit, something like 5 or 10%. So that's what we're looking for AFRM. Not putting on a whole ton of other swings. Let's look at a couple of stocks that have piqued my interest today. First one being MBLY. So this is a post-earnings move. Now, here's what I like about this stock on a longer-term time frame. So obviously, if you zoom out, really, really far, obviously the stock is in a downtrend. So we're not doing anything crazy here. But what I like about this stock is that it has rallied down over here. It's put in a base, right? Double top, double bottom, lower high. We're breaking above this level here, and this is a pretty high R-vol candle, right over here. Here, there's a little bit of volume as well. There is some volume kind of at this high over here. So this 70 price point is a pretty significant level. And the stock today held that level pretty well. We got a bit of a smackdown, but we held most of the gains, and we had nice relative strength the whole day, even while the market was selling off. So strong in the first half of the day, and then kind of compressed and held the rest of the gains. I like how this move is not too out of the gate, and we have some room until this 100 SMA, even though it's downward sloping. So you have room until probably about $17. So that's probably going to be my pick of the day. It'll be an overnight short, overnight long. I'll do a small size, and I would take profits at $17. So that's going to be your pick of the day, MBLY. And I'm not really looking to take a lot of longs at this juncture because I don't know what the market's going to do. I don't think we're going to sell off over here, but if we do move a little bit lower, there's a chance that I'm taking a long while trying to catch a falling knife. So I'll take a pretty small size trade here, and look to exit into strength. It's not, I don't think, the highest probability trade, but I do want to give a pick. So this is kind of one of my top picks. I'll kind of shift through some other candidates real quick. Team had a big breakout over here. It's going to need some time to digest some of these gains. I've set an alert, I believe an M30 alert. So let me check this. Buy signal on the M30. So when that flips, I can get in on Team. Toast grinding up higher. It's a bit of a choppy stock, so I'd want to get in on a price close to that 8 EMA. It's not bad, but it's not the best. And the theme and the motto here, actually, and one of the last things I put are just kind of these mental reminders, right? So making sure that, look, I have a clear market bias for every time frame each day. I'm looking for these 90% win rate trades. All right, that's really what I'm looking for. And there's no substitute for scanning many charts throughout the day, right? We're settling for the best, and I have good searches, but I want to find the picks that are really really standing out. I don't have to settle for too much. So I like MLBI because it had all the characteristics I need, and I just need a couple of really nice searches to kind of get the job done. So Twillo, nice continuation after this earnings, ton of great volume. Liked how this stock compressed over here, held all the gains while the market was selling off. Then we got the breakout over here, and actually I managed to continue on afterwards with this, what's it called? This compression breakout. It was strong enough to withstand the market. Ton of excellent volume on this stock. So I like this stock. It may be one that we can continue to day trade and swing trade. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, see if there's just anything coming in the way. Okay, no. So it's breaking out of this massive sell-off over here. And now it's put in a base. It is kind of rallying. We got some decent earnings. We're through some major horizontal levels. And if I had to put one level, it looks like it'd probably be somewhere here. Pretty major level. So something like that. All right, there's a pretty decent amount of horizontal resistance there. So that's, I view that as a major level. We got a test here, another test here. This used to be support, then became resistance, and it stayed at resistance for quite a while, right? We're talking about from 2022. So about 2 years, Twillo has been down bad, to say the least. Yeah, we broke through the level, so that's going to be our pretty much our stop, I would say, on the stock. And it has a ton of volume that's really able to break through that level. So Twillo is another nice one. And then the other thing I'm doing is searching for stocks that are maybe pulling back, strong stocks that are pulling back. So the search I have right now, here's a nice little search. So stock that is above the SMAs here. Maybe you can take that out if you want. Above its SMAs above AVWAP E, has a trade signal on the M30. You can even do a sell signal on the maybe the M1. And I might do that actually. A little bit more sticky. So it has the sell signal. So we know that this is a strong stock, is pulling back, but we need for that to kind of flip. And we can look at these intermediate time frames over here. So for example, a stock like Dell, right? I think Hari called this out in the live stream. So this is a stock where you can see there is a pretty big drop. And let's take a look at this stock. So it's a strong stock. I'm actually going to go to a weekly chart here. Yeah, strong stock. It's pulled back, and now it's kind of grinding up. So we know that we're entering a strong stock at a pretty good point. And this trend that we've seen so far, we have some time before earnings. Pulls back, moves up higher, pulls back, moves up higher, pulls back, moves up higher. Now there is, to me, some major horizontal resistance at these points. You can see that ton of volume coming in at these candles. So for me, it has to clear this $131 level. From this earnings high, you can see it acted as resistance, broke above, acted as support. That support broke, and now it's actually acting as resistance here. So I like what I see in the stock. I like how we got this first test down. We broke through above it, broke down again over here. We're kind of testing it a couple of times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a good to cancel alert at the high of the day. So if it can clear this with some nice volume, right, and actually hold that level on a retest. So far we haven't really been able to do that. If we can do that, then I'll feel pretty good about Dell. That's one to watch. I'm also wondering too, now if you put an AVWAP here, that might be one of those points where an anchored VWAP may, there may be some flipping going on here between buyers and sellers. So let me try another one here. See if that does anything. A little bit. Looks like there's some AVWAP reaction here. So it's acting a little bit as resistance from these candles over here. And maybe if I draw an anchored VWAP from here, let's see what happens. Okay, that's a little bit of a lower one, so there's a bit of an AVWAP pinch. So I'm still experimenting with some of these. I think from what I've noticed, they can kind of converge with major TA. So I don't like to drop a ton of them. But on intermediate time frames too, what I can put in, okay, here's a relative high. So what if I just drop an anchored VWAP here and just see what happens? Okay, so we came over here, we broke through. We haven't quite tested this foothold on that stock. There's also, you can drop maybe an anchored VWAP from this high over here. Right, so we're kind of still below this guy. And we're kind of, that's converging with the major price point. So, no, you'd want it to come in over here, kind of test that level, and then bounce back up. So those are some things. I've been liking them on a shorter term time frame, and it's a good way to see, I think, to kind of gauge reversals and gauge flips. So even for on SPY, for example, if I go out, maybe zoom out to like an M30 chart, there's this anchored VWAP I drew from the all-time high over here. And you can see we're just kind of chopping around it, not really confirming above or below it, which marks that LPT environment. And so when we get that reversal over here, if we can break through the naked VWAP, that might be a point where I even start to add. So that's a couple things I'm looking at. Let's go over a couple more charts, and then I'm probably going to stick with MLBY, but I just want to show you a couple things that I'm looking at over here. CMG, nice pullback on this stock, kind of back in its kind of uptrend, I would say. Good volume today, right? Grinding higher into the gap. So I like what I see. Could be a pretty good pick. I like CMG quite a bit. Okay, R is too choppy. Well, we looked at Toast. How about Walmart? Let's look at Walmart here. So this is a strong stock, pulling back, kind of breaking down through those that compression. So not crazy about Walmart. I'm going to set an alert on a buy signal here. So if that flips, then Walmart might have a nice buying opportunity after a dip. This is a strong stock, so getting in on a dip would be a pretty nice entry point, although earnings are coming up soon, so might end up being a no-go. All right, so a couple more flips. Too choppy, too choppy. Rocket Lab. I don't know if this is actually called Rocket Lab. I just call it Rocket Lab. RKLB. Yep, so it's pulled back, held this prior, was resistance, now is support. Earnings on the 13th, so not crazy about this, but that is looking pretty nice. CRM, choppy. Earnings on the 12.5. Starbucks is one to watch. So it's poking out. It's trying to get through this level here. There's some trend lines, but it's kind of a slow grinder. It's actually, it would have been pretty okay for weekly at the money if the IVs were a tad better. CLS looked good, but it couldn't hold that breakout above the high, so no breakout trade there. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with Mobileye here. That's going to be the pick of the day. So Mobileye, that's your pick. And, take some gains to strength and really watch what the market does. If we break the 50 SMA, I'd have a pretty short leash on MLBY. And I'm going to keep the small size, honestly. I don't want to force any trades. So keep it pretty small size. And, there may be an opportunity take a win here. So that's it for today's video. Hope you guys found this helpful. And we're going to take a look at our 2 picks, Mobileye and AFRM, on Monday's video. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you all then.